So if you start somebody on products in a plan and hopefully continue to educate them so they understand why they stay on these products, if not all of them, most of them in perpetuity, we now begin to take every new patient that starts, and suddenly there's 1, 2, 3, 4 products in that plan, with many of them doing that for life. We can considerably increase our collections. Path number 2, here's where you can add a care plan driven product or program. You say that one more time so you understand it. A care plan driven product or program. Nothing's more common than products that sit on the shelf or programs that people don't engage in any great number. So, for example, a lot of people bring in like a weight loss program and just don't get enough patients for it to ever make any sense or make them any real money. People have vitamin C and multivitamins and sort of back-oriented types of vitamins sitting on their shelves, and people just don't buy them in enough quantity for it to ever really make any kind of difference. I mean, there's sitting on the shelf, there's whatever inventory costs there, or even if you're just getting them direct from online, again, you're only getting 40, 50% of the money back to you in your pocket. You have to sell a lot of supplements for that to ever be anything considerable. And you just don't sell a lot when it's just, again, product driven themselves. It's not care plan driven. We just call that product or program driven. They live on their own. So how do we fix this? So for example, I've had several product manufacturing companies where we make our own supplements and we work with doctors to put those supplements in place in their offices. I really don't like to work with anybody who says, yeah, we're going to take your multivitamin as an example and stick it on our shelf, because I know, okay, you're going to buy, very few of these from me a year. So that's not a good relationship, not the one I want to get into. It's also not going to make you any money or really help your patients. Again, won't make a bigger impact on the lives of your patients. However, if you put them in your care plan, we're talking about the CPV. As we add products to the care plan, the CPV goes up as a result. And so we show people when they begin that there's a need based on their deficiencies and based on their conditions and just their own health. There's a need for these 1 to 3 to 4 products to be part of their care plan. So if you start somebody on products in a plan and hopefully continue to educate them so they understand why they stay on these products, if not all of them, most of them in perpetuity, we now begin to take every new patient that starts, and suddenly there's 1, 2, 3, 4 products in that plan, with many of them doing that for life. We can considerably increase our collections. Again, this 150 week, getting to $1 million a year. Put them on the shelf, never going to happen. Just an example of a program, we have a vitamin D program. So there's a vitamin D testing, then there's a vitamin D program that goes with it. And we have clinics that have made that part of their new patient care. If you haven't studied vitamin D, I've even seen as recent as this morning when I'm taping this, even the medical community coming out more and more often with studies showing how vitamin D impacts your health, wealth, and longevity in certain disease cases. So can't argue that we need vitamin D levels 60, 70 plus if we're going to be healthy and avoid disease and dying. So anyway, without getting into vitamin D any further, we have a vitamin D program. You test based on the results of those tests. You put people on a vitamin D program to get those levels up to where they belong. We have a retest as part of that, sometimes 2 retests if it doesn't get to where we're targeting. But over time, the average of that program tends to be $1,200 to $1,700 a month. And then they take some level of maintenance vitamin D in perpetuity. They never stop taking it. So every patient is suddenly adding $1,200 to $1,700 plus long-term to a plan. So you can see how that's really increasing your CPV again. That's considerable money just adding that program. But again, it's care plan driven. You start, we have as part of your starting point, we have you get tested for vitamin D levels, and then we do it forever. And it's a again, care plan driven. It's not sitting on the shelf. There's not a poster up there somewhere where somebody happens to see it, maybe does it. That sort of episodic stuff. Instead of being care plan driven, we call that episodic. Just occasionally we end up actually doing it. Another way to kind of help something be somewhat care plan driven is supporting it through talks. My brother, Dr. Eric, does many talks throughout the year. And in each of those talks, he tries to get people on a program of supplements. So there's always a few slides. He's talking about chiropractic, and that's most of the talk. But there's always a few slides on how critical certain nutrients are and that you need to supplement them. So I've actually been to his office when they ran out of omega-3, which is part of what he teaches in these classes. And it was like a crisis. There was this lack of omega-3 in his clinic, and you would have thought, the community had run out of toilet paper and water based on the kind of crisis that ensued, all because they ran out of D on the shelf there. So that's been driven by care plans because of the events that he does. So he collects a lot of money every single month, month after month, because people are on a program driven by these events. If you're seeing 150 a week, we can't afford to have 100 of them not on the right care plan for pathway number 1, and also doing some level of a product or program as pathway number 2 if we're really going to get there.